What is going on? Beyond the break here with a PSA submission prep video. We'll go through each of the cards that we'll be submitting to PSA on top of some pricing breakdown in terms of what we paid for, the grade we expect to get, and that price range, profit range that we hope to eventually receive at the end. This submission is for the NBA special currently PSA is running for. So a lot of lower end cards mixed in with some higher end cards. Actually, this is one of our more expensive orders, I would say, in terms of what we purchased from a raw standpoint. So pretty excited about this order. So let's get to it. Do have some highlighted cards up here, ones that we are waiting to submit to PSA, some of the newer cards that we've picked up. Really excited about this one just to start. Drew Brees tie-dye out of 25, look clean. Got the Bobby Witt Jr. Gold Cup out of 199, and then a sweet Calvin Johnson rookie refractor. So going forward, we'll be highlighting some cards that, kindly in our PC that we hope to eventually submit for PSA. But without further ado, let's jump into it. Just starting off with some basic cards. This is a Tyrese Maxey Orange Flash. For this card, this is one that we wouldn't set and live unless we were pretty confident in a 10. Something like this we paid for only $1. In a PSA 10, the breakdown here would be, a $40 card. In a PSA 10, grading fee, we're looking at $17.80. And then from an eBay fee, we take it roughly around 15% of this overall sale, which would come out to be $6. So overall, if we were to get this at 10 and sell it at $40, looking at a profit of $15.20. Here's a pretty big card in the order. This is a LeBron James Obsidian Red Flood. This is from the 2021 set. This card here, it looks like we paid around $14 for from a raw standpoint. All these cards that we bought are all through auction style. Rarely do we do a buy it now unless we see we can try and make a deal with the buyer. This card was pretty centered up, no issues that I found. Back looked great, no issues there. So with this, we're projecting a 10 here. A 10 sells, I think one sold for around 150. We're gonna be on the more conservative side, say around a 125 card in a PSA 10. PSA 9 sold for $55, so within that price range. So the maximum profit we would get for this card if we were to gem would be $75. Here's a Dwayne Wade refractor from 2006-7, Finest. Pretty basic card here, nothing too crazy in terms of price range from a raw standpoint. We got this card for a little under $5 at $4.25. This is one where we felt was clean, no issues, centering looked great. I mean, a little bit, I would say, in terms of centering. We're looking at this, maybe a little bit on leaning towards the right, left to right. But top to bottom look good, no corner issues there. We're projecting this to be a 10. In a 10, this goes for about $50, so nothing too crazy, for a profit of $20.45. Here's a pretty basic card, Anthony Edwards, trying to grade as much of him as possible. Obviously, he's on the rise with the Olympics and then also his playoff performance. It's just a pink ice. This is a card where we're pretty sure it should gem. Centering looked great. I didn't see any issues in the centering, corners, everything no issues there. I guess if you were to look at one thing would be the back. It's a little bit leaning on the left. But if you look at the front, the centering looks much better. So I don't see any issues with that. I think that meets PSA's criteria in terms of centering. So for this card here, we paid $4 in a PSA 10, looking at only like a $40 card. PSA 9, $20. So we wouldn't, we would be losing a couple bucks if it were to get PSA 9. Maximum profit for this though would come in at $12. Here's a Shy Gilgis Orange Flash Select. This is the Premier. Again, another basic card where we're pretty sure we're getting a 10 here. Obviously, never start with PSA. With this, we bought this for $3.25. PSA 10 goes for around $55. Cool color match too, so I think that ups its value a little bit more. For this, in a PSA 10, $55, looking at a profit of a little over 25 bucks. Here's a cool Trae Young Blue Ice out of 125. This one saw no issues. Centering on the back looked perfect. Centering on the front looked great. No scratches that I found. No surface damage whatsoever. For this card, we're looking at, let me just look at my list here. We're looking at $4.25 from a raw standpoint for a PSA, from a profit standpoint. PSA 10 comes in at $55 for a little under $25 in profit. Here's a Kyrie Irving Green Wave Select. This is the courtside out of 50. Only issue really was a tad bit leaning a little thicker on the left, but again, nothing too concerning in my mind, especially with the special going on. I'm willing to take that risk. We did pay a little bit extra for this, $17 in a raw standpoint. I think I paid a little overpaid for this. In a PSA 10, you're looking at $75, and a PSA 9, if that were the case in terms of the centering, probably closer to a $30 card. Maximum profit for this card would be a little under $29. Here's a really nice LeBron James out. This is just a basic, Topps Finest, 2005. This is a second-year card. For this type of card, we're leaning more towards, I would say a 10. I mean, I didn't see any issues with this. I just know sometimes PSA can be a little stingy more on the older cards. But to me, centering looked great. No issues there. Surface looked great. I've graded enough of these where I felt like this should be a 10. For this type of card, from a raw standpoint, we bought this for 15 bucks. PSA 10, comps were all over the place, anywhere between $115 to $85. So we kind of met in the middle at $100 in a PSA 10 for a profit of $52. Here's a second-year Luka Doncic Ruby Wave Prism. For this card, I felt this was clean. No issues here. Centering looked good. I would say not perfect. I would say leaning a little bit thicker on the left side. You can kind of, with these prisms I've learned, you kind of have to just look at the dots and count the dots a little bit. And I think there's half of a dot maybe on the left more. To me, not enough to not get a PSA 10. Other than that, I'm thinking this is going to grade gem, hopefully. We're guessing 10 here. For this, we bought this for $6.50. PSA 10 goes for $45. That could fluctuate depending on his performance. But for now, I'm going to be on the conservative side for $45 in PSA 10 for a profit a little under 14 bucks. One of the bigger cards in the order from a overall grading standpoint. For this Allen Iverson Refractor from the 2007 set, the back obviously looks a little bit left to right, a little bit thicker on the right side, a little bit thicker on the top, but on the front, centering looked much better. So I'm hoping PSA takes that more into consideration. As for this card, we're leaning more on the 9 side just from the sheer fact of a little bit of these centering on the back, and then there was a couple of I don't know if there were scratch marks, but 1 or 2 scratches. I'm leaning more on the 9 side here. For this card, surprisingly, we got a steal for this. This is why you kind of do the auction style. We got this actually for $5.50 in auction, which is unbelievable. In a PSA 9, this goes for about $100. And then in a 10, it goes for well over $345. So maximum profit, you're looking at $270 in a PSA 10. Here's a Kyrie Irving Sunburst from the Revolution set in 2016. For this card, we are leaning more on the 9 side. Just for, if you see here, a little bit of whitening there, and I think there was one little tiny dimple right there above my fingertip. Outside shot of a 10 maybe, depending on the grader, but for me, I think this gets a 9. In terms of, price range, we got this for $9.50. For PSA 9, probably a $35 card. PSA 10 comps were, I think the one, this is out of 75, the one that was out of 100 went for around $60. So on the conservative side, probably a $75 card in a PSA 10. That would give us a max profit for this card at $36.45. Here's a Kobe Bryant Upper Deck MVP, just your regular base card. This, we're leaning more. I mean, I saw no issues, but I have a feeling this is going to be a 9. Everything looked great, I would say. I don't know. I just have my doubts at times of PSA, especially these base cards. But centering looked good, top to bottom, left to right. Corners look great. All the whitening made it much easier to grade too. For this card, we're looking at $8.50 from a base standpoint. In a PSA 10, you're looking at $90. PSA 9, closer to a $25 card. For this would be a max profit of $50.20 if it were to gem. Trae Young Pink Ice out of 99. Thought this card was clean, no issues there. I think this is a 10. Centering looked great, kind of telling the centering here with these curves, both looked similar widths. For this card, we bought this for $9.35 in raw. PSA 10, we estimate this to be about a $60 card for a max profit of $23.85 if it were to gem. This is just a Laurie Marketing in blue from the Flux set out of 99. I think this is a clear 10. Wouldn't be sending this if we didn't think so. For this card, we bought this for just $1. PSA 10, estimate this to be a $40 card in a PSA 10 for a max profit of $15.20. Here's one of the bigger cards of the order. This is a Tyrese Maxey Orbital Gold Flood. I don't know the name of it exactly, but this is out of 10 out of 10 actually. This we feel is clean, although the obsidians are a thicker card, so I can never tell sometimes with the corners. Centering looked really good. You can see here, I guess the circle gets cut off right at the same time. Front looked really good, same with the centering on the front. I'm leaning towards 10. Again, with these obsidians, it is tougher. So from a raw standpoint, we bought this card for, and let me just find it on my sheet here. We bought this card for $56. Now, excuse me. Now, in a PSA 10, no comps for this, but other comps around the same price point, looking at around a $300 card in a PSA 10. Obviously, that fluctuates depending on his play, depending on the player. For a PSA 9, I would assume it'd be closer to $100 range, $125, maybe $95. So from a max standpoint, we're estimating this, from a max profit standpoint, if it were to gem, we're estimating this to be $181. Here's a Kobe Bryant Topps Finest. This card is just the regular base. Really like this card a lot. I think I saw no issues with this. I've graded enough of these as well. Centering looked perfect. Corners look great, especially with these darker corners, red and black. I saw no issues there, no scratches or anything. This card in a PSA, in a raw standpoint, we bought this for looks like $8.50, and a PSA 9 anywhere fluctuations between $80 to $100. So being on the conservative side, we'll estimate this to be a $90 card, and PSA 10, PSA 9 looking at a $25 card. From a max profit standpoint, if this were to gem, we're looking at $50.20. Derek White purple out of 50. Seems like a good buy. Good time to grade his cards. He's pretty hot in the hobby right now, especially with him in the Olympics, Celtics winning the championship and whatnot. For this card, we're looking at the 10. I didn't see any issues here. Starting to look good. Surface look great. No issues with the corners. So it's estimating this to be a PSA 10. This card we bought for $6.50. PSA 10, no comps, but looking at around $55 card, we estimate this to be for a profit of $22.45. Moving along here, Tim Duncan silver. No issues with this card either. Wouldn't be setting this if we had. Setting look great. If anything, maybe a little bit thicker on the left side. Now that I'm looking at this, but I don't think it's enough to, get that 9. In terms of what we bought this for $3 in auction. Comps wise, looking at a $70 card for a profit of $38.70. Moving along here, this card, Jalen Green. This is out of 75. Forget the variation for this. Let me look at my sheet here. Looking at Supernova, that's what they're called. I thought it was a really cool card. He's prime for a big year. I would say, if anything, it's hit or miss. It's go time for him in terms of his career. If he's going to be a superstar or just a quality player. Got this card for $3.25. PSA 10, no comps, but estimated this to be about $45 card, and PSA 10 for a profit a little over $17. Finally getting into some of the Victor Wembanyama. Haven't really, graded any of his cards, but kind of fell into a trap here. Got, I think, two in this order. Here's just the Prism from Instant Impact from Panini Prism. This card in a silver, looking at a $20 card in raw standpoint. Was a little concerned with the centering on the back. You can see a little bit thicker on the right than the left, but other than that, I found no issues. In a PSA 10, it's going for about $100, so profit of $47.20. One of the bigger cards in the order, outside the Maxi, this is the Michael Jordan Creators Embossed, Topps Finest Embossed, uncommon. Now, this card, I found no issues. I've looked this card over a million times. No issues. If anything, like a little bit wear and tear in that right corner. For this card, we're estimating between a 9 and 10. Outside shot of a 10, I have a feeling it's going to get a 9. But in a raw standpoint, we're looking at a $46. PSA 9 goes for about $80, so we make a little bit of profit in that. And a PSA 10 around a 190 from comp standpoint, up, fluctuates up and down. Max profit if it were the gem, we're looking at $97.70. There's a Vince Carter SP Authentics out of $3,999, so pretty large short print. For this card, we're estimating this to be a 10, clear 10 here. Got this card for $1.75, so pretty cheap. PSA 10 estimated this to be about a $45 card for a profit of $18.70. Here's a Shai Gilgeous-Alexander Obsidian Equinox. This is numbered to 99. No issues here. I think this is a 10. Centering look great. Obviously, with these sticker cards, again, I've mentioned, is a little bit tougher with the corners, but I saw no issues here. For this, in a 10, for a raw standpoint, we got this for $15.50. PSA 10, estimating this to be about a $75 card. I think it's a little bit more on the conservative side. Could be a little pushing closer to 100, but just to be on the conservative, estimating this to be about in a PSA 10 is $75 for a profit of $30.45. Two more cards here. LeBron James Blue Ice. Saw no issues here. I think if anything, there was one smaller dimple from what I recall, but nothing too crazy. We got this card for $3.90, PSA 10, looking at a $50 card for a profit of $20.80. And then the last card is another Wemby. This is just your base Court Kings double exposure. This is about a $40 card in raw standpoint. Got this for 40 bucks. PSA 10, which we feel it is, you know, again, maybe some whitening in that corner now that I'm seeing that in the camera. But I don't think it's enough to warrant not a 10. In a PSA 10, you're looking at a $120 card. In a 9, you know, if it were to catch, you know, probably estimating close to breaking even at $40. But max profit if it were to gem, looking at $44.20. So that's the order. From a raw standpoint, we're in this for actually exactly $300.30. If we were to gem all 10s, which obviously we don't expect that to be, you're looking at a profit of $1,213. Obviously, that's including grading and eBay fees. Overall, though, I think from a profit standpoint, you know, with the ones that we anticipate to be a 9, closer to around $800 to $1,200 range in a profit. So pretty big order, one of the larger orders we've done here at Beyond the Breaks. If you liked the video, please like and subscribe. Please leave any comments for anything that you guys want to see or any questions that you might have in terms of your own PSA submissions. Till next time, peace.